Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 20 of What If Naruto was sent to the Highschool DxD universe. If you guys enjoy this What If, and want to see part 21 of it, comment down below, and let me know. Also check out previous parts of this What If. I have created a playlist for this What If, where you can find all the previous parts, the link is in the description. And also go ahead, and check out other What Ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. And also check the description for the creator of this great fanfic and support them for making this fanfic. So let's start this video. Saji took to the air and stared on in astonishment upon seeing a massive crater where the two demonic combatants had been. It was so huge and deep that the devil couldn't see the bottom, and the crater was still smoking. The others joined him in the air, and they spotted two red and purple figures in the distance. Kurama landed on a floating rift of sand, his right side regenerating at an impressive pace, and his adversary was in the same condition. Both monsters were healing at a fast rate, before Naruto gained control of his body and reverted back to normal. "Where's the demon, human? Let him out." Naruto stared on with a poker face and replied, "No. The destruction is getting out of hand. No, I want that demon out. That's enough. It's about time I sealed you." Naruto spoke like Ashirock was a domestic dog that went berserk and bit someone, and needed to be put down. "The likes of you can't seal me, human. It took the combined effort of the three factions and Annie's son to seal me." Naruto sighed and closed his eyes. He weighted his hips, lowered his center of mass, and did a snake seal. "I am a higher creature, and I will not." Ashirock stopped his rant when his entire body went stiff, and he rose higher and higher up in the air against his will. Naruto opened his eyes and the fabled Rinnegan of the Sage of Six Paths was there, manifested in his two orbs. Naruto looked at the demon and uttered two words that split the very ground they stood on. Even the crater wasn't exempted. "Plagiarios. Chibaku Tensei." Ashirock watched in true astonishment as something he's never seen, experienced, or thought possible, happened. He was mesmerized as rocks the size of a building, and other different sizes rose from the ground, and floated in the air towards him. His body served as the core of the gravitational pull, as all the surrounding rocks floating in the air were pulled towards him and held together, tightened together by a great force. Was he holding back all those times we fought? Was the last thought going through Ashirock's mind as his vision went dark, the rocks completely blocking out the light. Everyone watched the magnificent technique and were floored. Even Kaguya was awed when she saw rocks as big as a 12-story house floating in the air, gathering together and forming a huge sphere of rock above, growing larger and going higher till it blocked the sun. "My god," Dulio exclaimed, watching the massive rock grow. "That technique," Agatha gasped. Naruto exhaled and released the snake seal when the sealing was complete. "Fair, you should have let me pummel that guy into mush," Kurama complained. "I wanted to kill somebody," Shikaku roared. Naruto cut them out and rode on the sand rift towards the group watching the fight. Saji gripped the hilt of his sheathed sword and took a step back, when he saw the gargantuan sphere of rock move forward. His eyes widened a fraction when he saw Naruto standing on a sand rift, both hands folded in front of his chest, looking at him like he was a pitiful fly buzzing around. A chill ran down his spine when he stared into those purple eyes that glowed under the shadow cast by the satellite. Graphia's hands went limp beside her. She stared at Saji and saw that the knight was in the same situation, staring at Naruto who was above them, literally and figuratively. Devils were greedy creatures that respected power, and, right now, the blonde human looked invincible. "Is this the real Naruto Uzumaki?" Grafia thought. He was incomprehensible at that moment to her. She had so much on her mind now. When, who, what, how, where, why was he? So many questions to ask. Why was he living a boring life in the human world? Why was he playing weak human? Who was he? What was he? How did he gain so much power? Why is he hiding his power? How is this possible? Dawn and Martha mistook him for a god when the Chibaku Tensei followed him like a puppy as he neared them. It cast a huge shadow over them, and Naruto stood by the massive sphere of rock, floating in the air despite all its weight. Dulio stared at Naruto and knew, instinctively, not to mess with the blonde. The sphere was just there behind him, housing a great ancient demon inside. If the blonde had a triumph card like this and that red beast earlier, then that means he was playing around with Ashirock all along. The supernatural beings came to that startling realization together. Quavo just couldn't speak. No human should possess that kind of power. And just like that, it was over. No more demons, no more threats. The Hunter family were now free, they could spread their wings like a bird. The realization brought great comfort to them. And Worry, Naruto called her name like he didn't just create a massive sphere, and showed all of them the vast difference between him and them. His voice was too calm, too casual, as if everything was normal. "We have a lot to talk about you trying to commit suicide." Martha looked down with guilt while John was horrified at the thought. This is why Naruto Uzumaki disliked showing his powers to those he deemed unworthy. It wasn't his pride or cockiness talking, or maybe it was, just a bit. The main reason was because of situations like this. They all hit it well, but they were afraid, except Gaia, who was smirking at him. He was happy to see her smile at him after he revealed a fraction of his power. The notion of people who used to categorize him as a minor threat updating his status to a god-level threat was tiring and agonizing. The devils would surely report what they saw, and the top thing to expect was a formal visit from all three factions' leaders, since he was temporarily allied with them. Being powerful is nice, and all but people fear what they do not understand, the same being applicable to all supernaturals. And that fear gradually turns to hate until all that is left is the desire to get rid of, or suppress that which they fear, that which they hate, that which they don't understand. Martha and John were completely astonished. Their stares had a glint in them, like they were in the presence of something greater. He hoped this display would change nothing. He'd love it very much if they treated him like they did before this happened. The devils, on the other hand, well, his message was heard loud and clear. He gazed at Grafia and raised his chin a bit to let her know he was being smug about it. He turned his gaze to Saoji and tilted his head a bit and raised an eyebrow at the knight. His body language was daring the devil to challenge him again. His stare lingered on the knight before he turned his head to the last group present. Two blondies, one radiating holy energy and sacred gear energy while the other a pure holy energy, which felt nostalgic, but only for a moment. The man had his fist balled up beside him, and his face was blank. Naruto nodded mentally. The guy had earned a tiny bit of his respect just like that. Naruto-san, is that you? Agatha stuttered, flying forward like she was entranced towards the blonde ninja. Julio grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Superhuman or not, he'd be damned before he let her walk into danger. Gabriel would have his hide, if she had so much as a scratch on her body. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the four-winged angel. How does she know his name? Yo, he greeted with a wave of his hand, and Agatha's face lit up like a Christmas tree at Naruto's gesture. Do I know you? He asked, and like a blackout, her mood dampened. Don't you remember me? She asked, her voice shaking. Naruto scratched his head in confusion. Brendel Rizavum, don't you remember me anymore? You saved my life, Agatha yelled, on the verge of tears. The man who came into her life in the most bizarre way, to save her like a knight in shining armor, when all hope seemed lost, and then disappeared in the most bizarre way, had forgotten about her. The man she didn't even forget about for a single second. Naruto's eyes darkened at the mention of Rizavum, and he went down memory lane for a second. He trailed off and his eyes widened when he recognized the female angel. You, clumsy angel. Naruto pointed a finger at her. Agatha cried tears of happiness when her hero remembered who she was, and she couldn't help but laugh at the name he called her back then. This was the man responsible for her courage, the man who helped her in so many ways in the brief period of time they knew each other. Many thought her story was unbelievable. A human fought against an evil dragon and won an instant defeat. You remember me? She pulled herself away from Julio's grip and flew towards Naruto, tackling him in a hug. Naruto groaned when she buried her face into his stomach. She barely reached his chest as she gripped him tight and balled into his chest. The blonde ninja's lips curved up a bit as he hugged her back and patted the first angel he met in this world awkwardly. Gaia recognized the smile as the small, almost unnoticeable smile he rarely displayed. The rest of the group watched, dumbfounded by the scenario going on. Julio was aghast, to say the least. Agatha looked really happy in the blonde's arms. Ma, don't cry. I'm already a bad jerk as it is, but making an authentic angel cry would damage my already broken reputation even further. The blonde complained, rubbing her back. And just like that, all of a sudden, the blonde was back to being an above-average human, and not the super being they all witnessed a moment ago. What a weirdo. As the scene went on, something else was going on inside the Chibaku Tensei. Ashiok stared at the dark, unmoving and unblinking. What a scary human. To think a mastery of chakra could grant one such abilities. Yes, this is no ordinary man, but why am I so angry? I don't want to lose to the likes of him. Ashiok roared mentally. Naruto's eyes whitened as the cord disappeared all of a sudden. Impossible. He's gone. He turned his head around. Naruto pushed Agatha away on time as a powerful beam that came out of nowhere swallowed him whole. The others disappeared with a wave of dark energy, while Naruto, who was still inside the beam, felt a force he couldn't defy. It was like space and time were bending to someone else's will at that moment. Whoop. Naruto Uzumaki disappeared to an unknown dimension. Dan's body came out of a void and bounced off the surface of a great water body all of a sudden, while Naruto, who was still inside the beam, appeared a few seconds later, moving in a diagonal line towards a great ocean that appeared out of nowhere. Dawn. Naruto thought as his body hit the ocean and the beam detonated. Scene change. Seraphil, Beowulf, and Yuri had been walking around in this barrier for who knows how long. The human currently had a silencing seal on her mouth. She asked too many questions and Seraphil got tired of it. Erasing her memories right now wouldn't help the situation. A purple void appeared in the air, and out came Gaia, Julio, Agatha, Grafia, and Saoji. Fuck. Gaia punched the ground in frustration. Her eyes were closed shut as she tried her best not to unleash her godly powers with the intense emotion she was feeling. She snapped her eyes open. They were glowing an eerie green, devoid of pupils, just pure jade green. An intricate magic circle, none like the devils have ever seen, spun furiously in the air. Grafia, Saoji. What happened? Did the demon get you guys? Seraphil asked. Gaia, his magic circle was transforming, looking almost like the Olympians' magic. A lot has occurred, Seraphil-sama, Grafia replied. What's with that furious look on her face and what's she doing? Dulio asked. Hiyashi, Gaia gritted her teeth. The last thing Gaia saw before the void closed up was Martha's white eyes filled with unholy fear and despair and Ashiok behind her, grabbing her face, and they were both alone. Scene change. Naruto pulled John out of the water, his orange shirt in shreds. John, are you okay? He slapped the man in the face. The dimension they were in was dark and cold. It had no light, and no visible ground, just rocks growing from the bottom of the endless ocean. John coughed up water, and came to life with a yell. Where's Martha? Where are we? Where are the others? Where's Martha? He yelled, going out of control. Scene change. With Ashiok. I never thought you'd help me, Harsh Blade, Ashiok stated, holding Martha up in a chokehold. His expression was that of a person that won the lotto, a child in a candy store. Don't be mistaken. This time for sure I'll kill you. The girl is the sacrifice this time. So, you made a pact with the hunter boy. What a mad gambler you are. This child is the same as Annie, her potential hasn't been unlocked yet, a virgin at the right age. A perfect bride for me. I'll be waiting for you. Come and face your death, demon. The sword disappeared. What a powerful sword Harsh Blade was. Created by Ashiok and his beloved priestess, Annie. The sword that was supposed to signify their love was the same weapon the love child between his beloved and a human used to defeat him. Oh, the irony. Now, my Annie, this time we will truly become one, as it should have been thousands of years ago. Ashiok then captured the 16-year-old girl's lips with his thousands-of-year-old lips and the ritual began. A purple magic circle appeared below their legs as their bodies began fusing. Memories flew into both human and demon's minds. Memories of each being different but slowly becoming one. He saw the love her brother had for her, how he took care of her when he was but a boy. He saw the fake Gaia and a bit of the blonde, and her growing feelings for the blonde, which just made him hate Naruto more. You're mine, and nothing will take me from you, he roared. I'll kill the man you love most with your own hands. I'll make you miserable for the rest of your life just like Annie did to me. A tear slipped down Martha's face as she went through all of Ashiok's memories, and when she understood the gravity of his threat. Oh, how I'd kill to immortalize the look on their faces when I drive my pitchfork into their heart with your own hand and body. The look of betrayal on their face. Martha's consciousness was slipping away as she cried tears of sorrow. What she feared the most was going to happen, and she'd be powerless to stop it. Martha Hunter didn't fear the demon, no, what she feared was killing her own brother in Naruto, because she was too weak to do anything. John would never raise a finger against his baby sister, and Naruto would never kill the innocent girl he's come to like. The girl he took to a clothes store, the same girl he took out on a date, whenever she was feeling down or bored. The little moments they shared. When he helped her with his assignment. When he promised to teach her how to fight. When he tried to teach her how to ward off perverts. Those little moments invaded her heart and planted a seed inside that grew steadily. As the moon and the sun are eternal, so too shall our unison be. Our paths shall be merged. My life will become yours and yours, mine. Two souls, two bodies shall become one, in harmony, never to be separated forever. Ashiok finished with a sigh. A mighty wave of dark energy flowed throughout the entire barrier, and when it cleared, both girl and demon were nowhere to be found. Scene change. Naruto held John down, trying to reassure him, trying to talk sense into him. I'm sure she's fine. Gaia's there. You might not know it, but she's much more powerful than the rest combined. But what if Martha is? John tried to argue before Harsh Blade came out of his trinket. Prepare yourself, John. I have held up my end of the bargain, now it's time to hold yours. Where's my sister? What did you do? John yelled more than asked. The purple void opened, and out came a person that left Naruto and John shocked to the core. Play hairs and funeral lost. The woman giggled innocently, contrasting her getup greatly. Her getup was the perfect definition of every pervert's wet dream. A dark purple armor that left nothing to imagine. The breastplate looked like fingers coiling from the behind, covering her bare busts. It had spaces between and looked like it was made of out lace, showing flawless pale skin. Her stomach was bare bar purple piercing on her navel. She had two pink marks going down her face, and her eyelashes turned purple and grew longer. Her pupils were purple with white flakes scattered around it. Long purple hair reaching her waist with two side bangs reaching her bust. She wore a tight long sleeve armor reaching her midriff. It looked scaly, and was brown in color. Her breastplate looked like fingers holding her jugs in place, and were made of gold and metal. It revealed quite a lot of cleavage, pale cleavage. A dark blue overflowing scarf covered her mouth. She wore dark purple pants that seemed almost like second skin on her. She was barefoot, and had ornaments on her ankles. Her hands too had the same ornaments. 2 short swords were sheathed on her hips. All in all, she looked like a goddess. "Martha," John called out to his sister, his voice thick with despair and disbelief, barely above a whisper, but she heard. "Big brother, it's me, your baby sister," she replied with a giggle. Naruto stared at her, bewilderment plastered on his face. He gritted his teeth, his eyes were red with anger, and tears threatened to fall down. Did I fail again? Did I fail to protect someone I swore to keep safe again? Naruto stared at Martha. A particular memory he kept deep in his brain locked in a small box that's inside another huge vault came out of the box he locked it in. The brief memory of him and Sasuke smiling at each other as the Shin-Chibaku Tensei was completed only for a wave of chakra he's never felt before, even greater than that of the 10 tails, pulled the sealing technique apart. Naruto gripped his fists hard till he bled. Seals don't do shit these days. He should have known better. "Martha, hey, what are you wearing? We have to go home. I made myself a promise to buy everyone a good meal when I receive my paycheck." "You're joking around, right? This isn't funny anymore." Naruto watched John walk towards Martha, harsh blade in hand, and thought, he's lost it. Martha chuckled till it became a full-blown, evil laugh. "Oh, brother, can't you see? This is what I've always wanted all along. I've never felt so alive. Come join me, brother, we will be together, forever." "John, we both know that's not our Martha, she's messing with your head, bro," Naruto warned. John turned around, gaining a tiny fraction of his sanity back. "But that's Martha, right there. She's just pulling a prank in that cosplay, trying to scare us. I told her not to hang out with you too much. Now you see, she's picked up your bad habits. Brother, please, I need you. Don't you love me anymore? Don't you want to see me happy?" Martha touched down on the surface of the water perfectly. No disturbance was transferred, no waves were formed, it just felt like landing on solid ground. "Please, brother, I love you. Don't leave me," Martha pleaded and held her arms out for a hug. John continued moving towards his sister like a zombie. "Wait, I'm coming to your side, my baby sister." Naruto pulled John back, slapped him in the face, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him up. "Snap out of it, John. That's not Murray. That's not your Martha," Naruto yelled. "Stay out of this, outsider." Naruto's eyes whitened when he heard Martha's voice behind him. Her voice sent shivers down his spine. He never knew she could sound like this, almost as cold as Kaguya's voice. "Please, Martha, stop this. I know you're inside there somewhere." Naruto turned his head to see the transformed Martha up close, only to be met by a powerful kick to the face that dislocated his jaw. Pow! Naruto traveled a great distance instantly, splitting the surface of the water in two as he bounced off it. He crashed into a rock poking out of the ocean, and shattered it completely. He kept going on till he crashed into another bigger one and stopped. He coughed up a lot of blood, and his jaw was dislocated, his arms bent at an odd angle. Naruto Uzumaki felt real pain for the first time in months, and it hurt so bad. Martha and John weren't in his line of sight anymore, their signature was far from his position. "Now, brother, it's just you and me. Hey, Martha, Naruto is almost like family to us now. Though he might be a jerk sometimes, he's a good man." "No, he's not. Don't you get it? But Naruto is our friend." "No, he's not our friend. He let the demon take control of me. Naruto Uzumaki killed me. He promised to keep me safe, but he failed. He's a failure." Naruto appeared and heard all she said. The Bijuus were helping him, but the damage he received from that kick was quite lethal. "She's right, I'm a failure. If I had paid more attention to the seal back then," Naruto thought. "John, she's just messing with your head," he yelled and fell to his knees. He underestimated the amount of damage the kick dealt to his body. John was confused, seeing Naruto on his knees. He didn't know what to say. "Come to me, brother. Let me decide for you." She opened her arms, and all John had to do was take a few steps to reach her, which he was doing. "John, yes, my beloved brother, come to me," Martha cooed with her gentle, innocent smile. John spread his arms out and tried to hug her, but harsh blade took over and a cloak, like Naruto's one-tailed state, covered his body, and then rage took over. He whipped out the blade and tried to cut Martha's head off, but it stopped a millimeter away from her neck. "You deny me my end of the bargain?" The sentient being inside harsh blade asked, struggling against John. John gripped his right wrist with his left hand. "You can take anything but not my baby sister. Such love, such a shame. My brother is incapable of killing me. The one capable of doing that deed hesitates, and it's frankly quite boring without him challenging me." Martha said with disappointment present on her face. The possessed hunter placed her index and middle finger on harsh blade, and pushed it down. She walked towards Naruto and disappeared all of a sudden, and a second later Naruto did too. "This girl," Naruto thought as she pummeled him through multiple rocks growing from under the ocean, until she kicked him towards the massive mountain in the distance. Naruto felt his spinal cord crack in two, when she held his neck, and slammed him into the mountain. "She's grown so powerful," he thought, nearing the edge of unconsciousness. She was continuously punching him in the face, till she dragged him over the surface of the mountain all the way up and into the sky, before she spread out 6 purple angel-like wings and descended down with a purple lightning strike from above with Naruto, flattening the top of the mountain upon impact. You bore me, Naruto ni, don't get in my way ever again. She straddled him and balled his sleeves in her slender arms. Martha, Naruto coughed out. Martha cupped his face and caressed his whisker marks softly. I'll make it quick and gently, Naruto ni, she whispered sensually before her scarf pulled itself down, and she claimed his lips with her dark purple ones. Naruto couldn't move as all his body became stiff the moment her lips touched his. Her lips melted with his mouth eagerly sucking his lower lips, biting and gnawing on it, before she snaked her tongue in and explored his mouth eagerly. The moment her tongue touched his, she secreted a viscous purple saliva and pushed it deep into Naruto's mouth. The blonde's veins turned purple as she pulled her tongue out his mouth and released his lips, a thin trail of saliva connecting them. Naruto's eyes whitened when he saw tears stream down her face. Goodbye, Naruni. And like that, Martha was gone. That was Martha. She's still somewhere inside there. Naruto thought and gathered nature energy trying to flush out the poison. John stood on dark solid ground on one knee as his sister appeared right in front of him. The aura had receded back in, but faint traces were still there. Martha, kill me right now. I don't think I can suppress them anymore, John ordered. That's what you want, brother. John lifted his head up and stared into his sister's purple eyes. Please. Well, if that's what you want, it's my duty as your sister to make you happy. Martha unsheathed both swords, twirled them in her hands, and stabbed John in the gut, but it didn't feel right. Warm hands were hugging her in a tight embrace. Orange filled her vision and her anger rose towards the blonde shinobi. I know you're still in there, Martha. You gotta fight Akshay. No. We are one. Never to be put asunder again. Her voice switched between Ashiok and hers. Naruto grabbed her shoulders and pulled her back. Martha. You're still in there, you're strong, fight him. Don't you want to see your brother again? Martha's eyes glistened with tears as the white flakes disappeared from her eyes. She pushed Naruto away, but the blonde didn't let go. They were at the edge of the mountain, when Martha turned her body around and hugged Naruto close. Curse you, human. Ashiok raged mentally as the last of his consciousness went to sleep. Martha successfully suppressed Ashiok. The 16-year-old girl caressed Naruto's face, as the memories she shared with the blonde human disappeared one by one. She stared at him fondly as tears cascaded down her face. Thank you for everything, Naruto ni. I'm sorry for being a bother and a burden, but please, let me place this last burden on you. She gave him her whitest grin as the last of her memories with the blonde disappeared slowly. Please, I'm begging you, keep my brother safe. He'll never do it, but you can. Naruto shook his head, tears threatening to fall. No. He knew what she was going to ask, but Naruto never, ever wanted to make that kind of choice again. Ever. Naruto ni, you can do it. Please, kill me. No, Martha. Don't give up. I can't do that again. Naruto was crying at this point. Martha placed her fingers on his lips to shut him up, and shook her head negatively. The last memory was the first time she laid eyes on the shinobi of Konohagakure for the first time, when she was held at gunpoint by another, and Naruto walked up to her fearlessly and asked, how much for these? Martha's smile widened at that memory. Thank you, Naruto. Martha pushed him away and stabbed herself with the knife. Now, you can do it, right? She asked with a nice smile as blood leaked from the corner of her lips. Martha? John's eyes were white as his tear gland leaked like a faucet. Naruto, the cold bastard's heart tore to pieces as tears streamed down his face. Both adults watched as she fell down the edge of the mountain. Naruto felt his heart freeze when she was overtaken by a dark aura, and unfurled her wings before she took to the sky. Oh, such melodrama. Ashiok's voice came out this time around, mocking the blonde shinobi. Naruto couldn't sense Martha anymore. The demon was in complete control. Her will was the only thing stopping him, and when she said her goodbyes and left the rest to Naruto, her consciousness was swallowed whole. The ninja's bangs shadowed his eyes as he held his head down. The damsel in distress sacrificed herself to make things easier for the cold hero. How tear-jerking it was as she begged her beloved Naruto ni. Ashiok's voice took over, but the form was still Martha's. He was using the same face, same eyes, same smile, but different voice to taunt the blonde. Naruto snapped his eyes wide open. His arises were now black cross-shaped, the horizontal bars of the sage mode, and the vertical slits of Kurama's chakra entering his own system. All the hate, anger, frustration, rage, ki, all his negative emotion came out full throttle, as a thick aura of red and golden chakra surrounded him, bathing him in an ethereal glow. He whispered one word with so much hate as he glared at Mars' form in the sky in such a way that Ashiok was taken aback. Die. Naruto Uzumaki was truly infuriated at something for the first time in a while. There was this burning sensation in his gut, a familiar sensation many have given into, the urge to kill. The urge was so bad, it was like a rock set ablaze in a sea of lava. It was like the top of a sealed volcano exploded all of a sudden, and the volcano roared to life, spouting a geyser of hot lava and ash that burned everything in its path. Yes, right now, Naruto Uzumaki was a volcano burning over the brim with Kyuubi's chakra. Kurama was indeed a powerful being, second only to the 10 tails chakra-wise, and all that power was being channeled to fuel the desire of his partner. The cloak of Kurama's sage mode wasn't even complete before the mountaintop, where Naruto stood on, was flattened as he rocketed at neck-breaking speed towards the source of his ire, his anger, his thirst for genocide, the demon Ashiok. The golden, glowing hand gripped Martha's face, and like a space rocket, they flew a great distance, leaving golden and purple streams in their wake as they traveled the dark sky. Ashiok pried Naruto's hands off her face mid-flight, as the blonde human took her far away. She let a smirk grace her face, an action that seemed to drive Naruto crazier. The blonde roared as he drove the demon down into the waters. A splash disturbing the surface of the water occurred after both man and demon touched down. Well, from now on I will use Ashta to refer to Martha and Ashiok's fused form. Ashta crouched, riding on the wave that was many times his size, with that same smirk on her features, a smirk she could never pull off if she was in control of her body, and watched the glow covered by huge drops of water, as another wave that traveled the opposite side roared. When the great water body died down, Ashta finally had the chance to take in every little detail of the blonde shinobi. His clothes looked like they were made out of raw, dense chakra, the densest Ashta's ever seen. You truly are a magnificent one, Naruto Uzumaki. I declare you the strongest human ever, she said after she sensed the output of chakra he was giving. Naruto did nothing but glare with contempt, his cloak billowing with the strong window. Ashta rose to her feet and pointed a hand at Naruto. I declare you the strongest human ever. Give her back, Naruto said, barely above a whisper. What? I said, give her back. Come and get me, Naruto-ni. Naruto growled uncharacteristically, and blitzed forward, and so did Ashta. A gust of wind blew the surface of the ocean apart as they clashed a few feet above the waters. Both contestants had their dominant arms out and their hands joined together. The prophecy is fulfilled, and yet another prophecy takes its place. One that is not of this world shall stand in the way. With a heavy choice, he shall vanquish the demon of old and bring lasting peace to the Hunter family. Naruto glared at Ashta. Ashta glared back with an infuriating smirk. Both were ready for whatever it takes to achieve their goals. The time starts now. Round 3, fight. Both fighters were bound off each other, and Naruto dashed forward and threw a horizontal punch at her face. Ashta snorted as she slapped Naruto's wrist down and leaned forward, her left hand balled into a fist as it traveled towards the blonde. Naruto parried her fist and took a step back, expecting her momentum to throw her forward, which it did, but he underestimated her flexibility. She bent forward and raised her legs and tried to kick the blonde. Naruto drifted to a halt as he raised his hands to absorb the force behind the kick. Ashta dashed forward and kicked the ninja in the gut. They both engaged in a brief fast-paced taijutsu bout, deflecting punches and kicks. Naruto kept on dodging her attacks, while Ashta scored a few hits in. What's wrong? Where did all that bloodlust go? She taunted as she punched him in the face. Naruto swerved back, and she grabbed his wrist. You are nothing but a coward. Face me, Uzumaki, or I'll kill the brother with the sister's body, she hollered as she threw the blonde over her head. Ashta watched as the blonde sailed in the air and wanted to chase after him, but a hail of fireballs stopped her attempts. She dodged the huge fireballs, jumping left and right before a huge stream of fire followed. The ocean surface steamed as the flames covered a wide area. Ashta smirked and took in a deep breath before she blew a stream of ice. Fire and ice battled for dominance, and it seemed like the ice had the upper hand before Naruto shined behind Ashta and backhanded her. Ashta skidded to a halt, and Naruto appeared right in front of her. He threw 2 haymakers which she dodged. She tried to deliver a roundhouse kick when she saw an opening, but it was a feint. The blonde ninja caught her leg and dragged her closer, landing an earth-shattering punch to her cheek. Ashta drifted across the waters and landed on a mountain in the distance, a trail of blood leaking from the corner of her lips. She smirked when she saw his killing intent was now focused, and his stance had settled. His demeanor, his aura, his presence, everything about him seemed to settle down. The blonde snapped his eyes open, and his eyes told it all. Those eyes were calm just like a few hours ago. That's more like it, Naruto. Play Emma the Monkey King asked. The mountain rumbled mightily as both contestants released their energies. Both were finally getting serious, it seems. Ashta ran forward and stomped on the ground. Lots of huge boulders broke out of the mountaintop and hovered in the air for a moment before she launched them all at the blonde shinobi like football. Naruto ran forward, cutting the boulders with Raikiri. He thrust his lightning-covered hand forward, extending a long blade made of pure lightning chakra. Ashta cut through the lightning beam with her twin swords and sheathed them as she neared the blonde. Both contestants reared their fists, balled them, and powered them up with a massive amount of energy. Their fists collided, causing a shockwave that sent ripples through the surface of the water near the mountain. Naruto only waited for a fraction of a second before he descended on her while she was still somewhat stunned from the impact of their fists. Ashta groaned when Naruto delivered a spinning kick which connected, before a clone appeared right in front of her and closed the short distance between them. The clone stopped right in front of her face before he smirked and exploded. The explosion swept her off her foot, and while she was in the air, 2 water dragons crackling with lightning rose out of the waters and swallowed her whole, before diving back into a deep square pit in the ground. Naruto, who hit his hands on the ground, clapped his hands together, sealing the pit. The pit exploded with a wave of purple energy and Ashta came out unscathed. The gargantuan wall of sand followed. It was so massive it blocked the view of the ocean. Ashta raised her hand at the wall. A purple magic circle appeared on her palm, before she fired off a huge beam that split the sand wall into 2. Ashta had her guard up instantly. Naruto was nowhere to be found. Her eyes widened in surprise when a massive hand made of sand with blue markings grabbed her in the air and slammed her down. As her body bounced off the mountaintop, Naruto spewed a wave of hot blue flames like a super overpowered flamethrower. A wide magic circle stopped the flames on its track, as Ashta appeared behind the blonde in a magic circle, and fired off a pure energy beam that eclipsed the wall of flame, spearing through it, pushing the flames away as it dug a trench that cut through the mountaintop and beyond. The mountaintop was vaporized instantly, and Naruto stood in the middle, unhurt. Is this all you can do in that form? Such a shame. Martha placed her hopes in the likes of trash like you. Naruto leveled a hate-filled glare at her, before he closed his eyes, and took calm breaths, doing a sage breathing exercise, trying to purge the negative emotions out of his system. One thing was obvious though, it wasn't working at all. The only thing stopping him from throwing S-rank jutsus around is Martha's face. Instead of trying to purge his evil feelings, he used a breathing exercise to assure himself that wasn't Martha anymore. Ashrock, I'm going to kill you. Naruto snapped his eyes open with strong, unwavering resolve. A Hiraishin kunai poofed out of the seals on his wrists. Naruto shunshined above her and a giant Rasengan the size of Gamabunta roared to life. It was like someone lit a gigantic bulb in the dark desolate dimension. Ashta raised her hands at the incoming ball, and a purple magic circle, bigger than the Rasengan, took the brunt of the attack. The magic circle smushed the Rasengan out and fired off a huge beam of destruction into the night sky, splitting the clouds apart. I would have thought I can throw dark erasers of this kind of level around like it's nothing. I have truly ascended to godhood, she thought as she fired dark erasers after dark eraser, as Naruto either rolled out of the way or teleported out of danger. She placed both palms forward and fired off another dark eraser that was much more powerful than the other ones. Naruto placed the kunai horizontally, balancing it with his thumb and middle fingers, in front of his face at the incoming beam. Flying Raijin. Guiding Thunder, Naruto intoned. Its effect was instantaneous. The beam was sucked away into the space right in front of the blonde, before it was returned with the same ferocity back at the center. The clone poofed into existence below on the water with a tailed beast Rasen shuriken in hand. Ashta saw both attacks coming and thought, sneaky fox. She unsheathed the 2 swords in her hips and pointed one at the beam and absorbed it. The sword glowed purple before the energy was transferred back into the other one. She swung her hand at the tailed beast Rasen shuriken, releasing a purple beam that split the incoming jutsu in 2 as it detonated prematurely. Naruto threw his kunai at her, and she tilted her head, dodging the knife effortlessly. Her blank stare turned to one of genuine surprise when Naruto disappeared from her line of sight, only to later morph into a horror when the blonde ninja's hands ripped through her heart. She coughed up blood as the sound of 1,000 chirping birds filled her ears. How is this possible? He shouldn't be able to hurt me in this form, she mulled. Right now, she was practically invisible. Only attacks that affect its target on a molecular level can work on her. Is it because they haven't cinched completely, or is the blonde a special case? Is that supposed to end my life? She asked, coughing up blood. Purple bangs casted a shadow over her eyes as she gripped the blonde's arm. Don't mess with me, blondie. Right now, I am a god, she yelled, flaring her energy to match Naruto's Kurama mode. Her eyes glowed purple as she reared her head back and headbutt the ninja away. Naruto skidded to a halt on all fours and snapped his head at Ashta, where he felt the massive amount of magic she was building up. The sky was getting darker as time went by. Play need to be strong. Let me show you the pinnacle of Dark Eraser, she said, as she crossed both hands with her twin blades in her hand. The sky darkened even further, and the water sloshed around restlessly. Purple thunder traveled across the sky and struck the blades. Both blades fused together and became a standard katana with no sheath. Her eyes glowed purple, and the blonde Uzumaki whitened his legs, bracing for whatever was coming. A Bijuus bomb was growing to the size of a giant Rasengan in his hands, and 3 mini Rasen shuriken orbited around the menacing ball. Ashta swung her arm forward, and a wave of purple energy erupted from it, swallowing Naruto whole, as he threw the tailed beast's planetary Rasen shuriken at the beam. The purple beam split the waters into 2 as far as the eyes could see. The good portion of the ocean, and anything in the line of the beam was erased completely. Naruto stood inside a badly damaged chakra construct, his right arm outstretched. The massive fox head was damaged so bad only its lower jaw was present. The glowing ninja stared at his hand and frowned heavily at Ashta. His right hand was smoking, a dark blister covered the entire arm, and it wasn't healing. Naruto glared at the self-proclaimed god, and the image of a lot of people overlapped hers. Naruto lowered his chin and bit his cheek with suppressed fury. I'm gonna kill this bitch. Naruto jumped higher and higher till he was above her. Kurama's head receded and roared back to life in a complete state around the shinobi, and he charged up a massive Bijuus bomb as big as the giant Rasengan he created earlier. Naruto, you intend to wipe her out? Kurama asked his partner, all 9 tails swishing about in the soar that is his mindscape. Naruto watched the pink dot which was Ashta below with a blank face as the Bijuus bomb grew larger and larger. Naruto, John is still in this dimension. He's far away from us, he'll be safe. I should have killed this fucker since day one. Nah. Naruto cut the mental link between him and his tailed beast, tired of the warnings. Beggin, demon. Naruto thrust his arm forward, and like a gun going off in an Olympic race, the massive Bijuus bomb roared forward. Naruto Uzumaki. You really are full of surprises. You never cease to amaze me. Ashta thought she saw the massive Bijuus bomb growing bigger and bigger. Ashta sighed and closed her eyes. With enough power to flatten a meteorite, the Bijuus bomb homed in on its target, and Naruto shielded his eyes from the bright light of his jutsu before. God Sile. Absolute eraser. Naruto's eyes whitened uncontrollably when the Bijuus bomb disappeared. No, not disappeared, more like it was erased out of existence. Inconceivable, Naruto thought. All that chakra just vanished, as if it wasn't there in the first place. What did you do? He asked, more like yelled. Asta cackled and decided to explain to him anyway. You see, I can control space-time to a certain extent, but it consumes a lot of energy. That was why I was able to break out of that prison with help from Harsh Blade. I could only use it on a small scale, but now, I am invincible. I have achieved immortality, Uzumaki, she said. She rose higher than the blonde. That's more like it, the higher creature should be on top, she thought as she stared at the blonde. Immortality? You are just a super powerful demon, he replied. Ashta clenched her fist, and reared it back. A purple magic circle with flakes around it materialized in front of her fist, spinning like a clock. God Sile, big chill. She punched her fist at the blonde ninja. The magic circle grew so big it encompassed a wide area. An ice-cold energy traveled around the area, freezing everything. The waters were now a sea of rock-hard ice. Ashta watched as the ice around the blonde steamed, and he broke free of it. You're too strong to be left alone, Uzumaki. I respect your strength and I'd rather have someone like you beside me, she commented. Ashta balled her fist and the ice below burst into pieces. Huge shards as big as the pieces of rock from the Chibaku Tensei were flying in the air as they all spinned around, their tip pointed at the blonde. An almost innumerable mass of magic circles hovered in the heavens, spinning around, ready to let whatever was inside them out. She's finally taking you seriously, Kurama said. That earlier Bijuus bomb was powerful enough to destroy the Jito statue, and she snuffed it out like it was nothing. Oi, Naruto, you might need to bust that out, he warned his Jinchuriki, but the boy did not heed to the warning. With her mental command, all the ice shades rained on the blonde ninja. I can't dodge them all. Think of this as a payback for that sealing technique. She balled her fist and the barrage of ice charged downward at an unreasonable speed. It was just too fast as the ice he was standing on rumbled, and the barrage kept going more than 1 minute. The magic circles in the air were all charged up and released in an instant. Swish, boom. The Bijuus bomb detonated, countering the barrage. He countered that. She mused out loud, staring at the head and torso of a fox whose face was badly singed. The kitsune. Naruto. I'm fine, he replied. I can't believe it, she's keeping Naruto at bay, Jayuki pondered, staring at the fusion of demons and women in the sky. She looked barely winded, and here was Naruto trying to even his breath. Is he still hesitating because of that girl? Ashta appeared in front of Naruto, the compressed dark eraser in her hand as she punched the fox head off. Naruto jumped out of his avatar and landed on water. The mountain had been destroyed with all the attacks they were throwing around. She appeared behind the blonde and tried to backhand him. He spun around in time, her Rasengan in hand. Ashta gripped the Rasengan, and it was snuffed out of existence before her palms connected with the blonde's. Kurama's eyes widened in the seal when he sensed it. There was something fishy going on. Ashta grinned as she kicked the blonde on his knee joint, forcing him to kneel. Their hands were still connected, when eyes glowed purple again. Odd style. Evil vacuum of destruction. 5 consecutive magic circles raced from her hand and engulfed Naruto whole, before he was blasted away. The magic circles rotated, and created a void, that seemed to pull in all directions. The blonde Uzumaki screamed as he was rocketed back. His cells felt as if they were on fire. His entire being was being pulled apart, before the seal exploded, sending him bouncing off the waters. The beam followed, and near the brink of consciousness, he couldn't dodge. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.